What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Bulls Latest. Wanted to start this Friday show with a couple of Josh Giddey updates here. It turns out teams are now showing interest in a potential sign and trade involving Josh Giddey. They are exploring these opportunities. A handful of teams have contacted Giddey's camp to express interest in the 22-year-old. More specifically, one Western Conference team has thought about a player swap, none other than the Golden State Warriors, a team I've talked about since the start of this show, more specifically Jonathan Kuminga. It turns out Golden State is at the forefront of the teams interested in potentially signing Josh Giddey via sign and trade there. So when you look at Josh Giddey, he is someone who is certainly flirting with and threatening the idea of taking the qualifying offer himself. Again, the qualifying offer would be a deal paying just over $11 million for this coming season. I can't really add more teams than I would like at this moment that are interested in him. I haven't found that information, but it is reported that the Golden State Warriors have expressed a ton of interest in him. It comes as no surprise. This team's been kind of active in the restricted free agency market. They have one of the top restricted free agents out there in Jonathan Kuminga, so those things continue to swirl. And as I've talked about in recent days, Jonathan Kuminga in that situation is kind of at a standstill. Nothing is currently really happening there. He's declining what the Warriors are currently offering him, so it would make some sense there. Kind of jumping into another aspect of this, looking back at the 2021 draft, if you guys remember, this was an interesting night because dating back to the 2021 NBA draft, the Warriors were prepared on draft night to take Josh Giddey there. Instead, they took Jonathan Kuminga, but they were expecting the Oklahoma City Thunder to take Kuminga at 6 and were prepared to take Josh Giddey there in the draft. When you look at Chicago, though, the support and the belief in Josh Giddey has never wavered. Even though he remains unsigned, that doesn't mean the Bulls are content with letting him walk. I know they're in, Giddey's camp's becoming impatient. Bulls fans alike are becoming kind of impatient. They want to get Giddey locked up. As I reported yesterday, a deal is expected to get done here, and it's widely believed among a lot of NBA reporters that the Bulls will get this thing done by the end of this month and the end of August. We could finally move on and prepare for the preseason here and move our eyes to a potential move at this point for maybe some of the other Bulls that have been kind of rumored. But like I said, I expect this Bulls team to bring back a lot of those players. I continue to emphasize this. At this point in the offseason, we will probably see Josh Giddey be locked up by Chicago, although starting today's show, I want to talk a little bit about why the Warriors were pursuing him. But I think that Nikola Vucevic and Ayo Dosunmu will also be here to start next season. So, when you look at the Bulls with multiple suitors engaging in Giddey's representation, a new exorbitant contract seems likely to come sooner than we think. So I think that you're going to get that deal rather soon here, as I talked about yesterday. So we'll keep eyes on that. And overall, I just wanted to take a look at and kind of analyze the trade patterns of this year in this offseason since we ended the summer league, really. A lot of these deals have highlighted a shift towards financial flexibility. You're seeing a lot of teams around the league take part in multi-team deals with the prioritization of draft capital there. So you're seeing a lot of teams continue to build this way. I think the Bulls should follow suit. I think they're starting to kind of get that, but they've been struggling, since this front office generally took over to do that and build draft capital through these moves. And then you're also seeing teams increasingly move high salary veterans to optimize their cap space, while these younger assets and future draft picks have become primary targets, reflecting both kind of a shift. You have a lot of win now attitudes, and then, rebuilding strategies to go along with that. And that's kind of where the Bulls have been in recent years. They're in that win now mode. They refuse to kind of just fully tear it down and rebuild. You're now seeing, starting this offseason, I think it's really the first move the Bulls have had towards a true rebuilding strategy here. So I think when you look at these multi-team trades, they're frequent. They're used to match salaries under the stricter constraints of the new collective bargaining agreement as well. That's something that's worth noting. And when you move these star players for financial reshuffling, you see a lot of these moves take place. And in most recent here, the Suns trading Kevin Durant to the Rockets for Jalen Green, obviously Dylan Brooks and significant draft compensation. The Celtics flipping Porzingis and Drew Holiday in separate trades, both designed to lower tax bills and inject youth. And then, you're looking at teams increasing the use of trade exceptions and salary dumps there. The Jazz notably acquired large trade exceptions, providing leverage for them for absorbing contracts and negotiating for future draft picks. So these are just kind of the trade patterns and the strategies you see take place in today's NBA. As far as the emphasis on draft pick, contenders and rebuilders alike value unprotected future first and seconds, although the Bulls have been questioned as if they do value those first and second round picks there. It makes you scratch your head at times with the way that AK and Mark Eversley kind of run things. But one would hope that they continue to rebuild the proper way. I know they're going to have a ton of money to spend this next offseason. You've seen deals like that with the emphasis on draft picks take place with teams like Brooklyn, Denver, and New Orleans. And New Orleans, like I talked about the other day, is kind of in that category with the Bulls. Has kind of been somewhat of a mess. So, this is linked to when you take this strategy of rebuilding via draft picks, it's linked to long-term planning and cap flexibility, something the Bulls are hoping to kind of open up to in 2026. So we'll see how things kind of take shape there. But those are just a couple of avenues into the analytics in terms of how teams are valuing trades and how these moves are taking place throughout the league. So, I wanted to kind of wrap up today's show and talk about how the Bulls, given the moves that they've made to this point, are planning for a monster offensive season in 2025-26 here. When you look at this team post last year's All-Star break, the Bulls got dramatically better in a way that no NBA team has in 20 years. When you look at this, it's rather impressive. The transformation helped head coach Billy Donovan's group win 17 of its final 27 games, became one of the league's winningest teams down the stretch. And a chunk of that can be attributed to individual player development. Josh Giddey was a huge help in that, and ultimately what he's hoping will allow him to get paid and deserve what his camp thinks is necessary for him following the strong finish to this past season. He did average 21.2 points, 10.7 boards, and 9.3 assists in his 19 games after the break. Kobe White was also a top 10 scorer in the league in the season's final 10 games. And then Modest, he obviously solidified a spot in Donovan's starting rotation, averaging 13 points and 4.8 rebounds during that stretch as well. And then Kevin Huerter, a guy I've talked about, and I'm certainly excited to see him appear with this Bulls organization next year. He joined Modest on a regular starter basis and became an under-the-radar piece that helped glue these lineups together. And I think that when you look at Kevin Huerter, he has an opportunity to help glue a lot of these lineups together moving into next season as well. Add that all together, and you get one of the best offenses in the NBA. It's no surprise those players started to click later in the year. The system was certainly designed for it. And this is where I think it's exciting moving into this next year. Just diving into some of these analytics, prior to the February 12th layoff, the Bulls ranked 23rd in point differential at minus 4.8. After the break, that number jumped to plus 4.8. That was the biggest improvement, 9.6 points per 100 possessions, more specifically, of any NBA team over the last 20 years. That's a huge data point there. When you look at the prior 2 decades, no team has made that jump, and it's certainly speaks volumes to Billy Donovan's effort to kind of instill this into this team and kind of grow that identity moving into the second half of the season. I think it's something, when you dive into the data and the numbers, is really exciting with this Bulls organization. I think the totality of those improvements on offense, it was critical. It led to an increase in winning. Those are positive developments for Chicago that realistically can carry over to 2025-26 here. I think when you're looking ahead to next season, I think that jump and playing faster and ranking in point differential to end the season, when you're 9.6 points above which, an improvement that was made over the last 2 decades, was the most in any statistical anomaly there. That was pretty exciting. So I'm excited to see what takes place for this Bulls team moving forward into next season. Hopefully they can pick up where they left off. Obviously, Josh Giddey being signed is going to be a huge part of that. And they're going to have him around to ultimately play with that identity. I think he will get, although the smoke is coming in about the sign and trade with Golden State, I think you're going to see Josh Giddey remain here. Like I've talked about in recent days, I think a deal will get done by the end of August. That's my prediction. So I just think that when you look at this team, there's a lot of optimism to be had if they bring back everybody, which it seems like they're going to do. So again, let me know what you guys think. I'm curious to hear, do you want Josh Giddey to come back? Are you all in on that? What do you guys think of that data point, the jump in point differential there after the All-Star break? 2 decades is a long time, man. That's a heck of a number there to hit over the last 20 seasons. So as always, though, I want to thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Bulls Latest, and we will see you guys next week.